Welcome, everyone. Sejam todos bem-vindos, sejam todas bem-vindas à sessão de hoje do EducationUSA. A gente está com essa palestra online com a Samantha Dillon, que é da Illinois Institute of Technology, que vai falar um pouquinho para a gente sobre os programas de graduação na instituição onde ela trabalha, né, lá na Illinois Tech, e contar um pouquinho sobre esses caminhos que existem para a graduação lá. Então, antes da gente começar a apresentação, eu queria que vocês soubessem o que é o EducationUSA. Se vocês não sabem ainda, a gente é uma organização vinculada ao Departamento de Estado americano. A gente tem só no Brasil 40 centros do EducationUSA, que são centros voltados realmente para atender vocês, dando orientações sobre estudos nos Estados Unidos, né? Além dos nossos centros com as orientações e as traduções certificadas que a gente faz de toda a documentação necessária para a sua candidatura. A gente tem também os plantões do EducationUSA, que são horários em que orientadores ficam à disposição para tirar suas dúvidas sobre o processo seletivo, né? O processo de candidatura para as universidades americanas, e também uma diversidade de eventos com várias universidades. Então, eu recomendo que vocês deem uma olhada na nossa agenda, no educationusa.org.br/agenda. Você encontra toda a programação de eventos do EducationUSA e pode já agendar, né, se inscrevendo para os eventos que vão ser do seu interesse. So, I would like to thank you, Sam, for being today with us, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Wonderful. And did we need to record it again, just in case?
I am recording it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining. My name is Samantha from Illinois Tech. We are a university located in the city of Chicago. I'm here to talk to you about why studying at a STEM university is different and what is STEM. So we're going to break that down. We're going to talk a little bit about admission criteria. And I hope that you learn a little bit. And if you do have questions, I have my chat open, so feel free to ask away in the chat as well. So with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into our presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about what is STEM, what are the benefits of studying this degree, how do you know if a program is STEM designated, and then how can students prepare for a STEM program overall, and really, like, why does this location matter as we talk about, and then I'll talk a little bit about the university specifically, so then you can grab a little bit more information about why maybe Illinois Tech might be the best institution for you to study. So for those of you here, I'm glad to see you. Welcome. And part of it is STEM. You've probably heard it and you're trying to figure out, what does it mean? STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You probably were like, yeah, I knew that. So why does it matter? And what are the benefits of it? Really what it comes down to, and we do believe this, is that there are in-demand fields currently that employers are really flocking to. They want to see that students have expertise in these subject matters, which include computer science, data science, artificial intelligence, things like marketing, analytics, engineering, and cybersecurity. So I'm not trying to outrule some of those humanities-based fields of study. I just want to say that these are definitely in demand, right? A lot of companies, a lot of employers are asking for students who have expertise and knowledge in these subject matters. We then see that these students who are part of these fields that develop critical thinking to solve problems that companies really need. So these are companies, these are non-governmental organizations, so NGOs and not-for-profits. Basically, anywhere you go, these are things that a lot of employers are looking for. So what you can best do with this STEM degree is really zone in on yourself, know what your strengths are, and really be able to get into one of these fields to then market yourself after graduation. Again, the applicable knowledge of what you're going to take in these programs are going to be basically throughout the world, right? I always like to say, if you know that your government, if maybe your universities in Brazil are really looking for these opportunities to expand, and you know that this is something forthcoming, and you can really just foreshadow it and say, hey, I know that this is going to be a need in 2 years and 5 years. I would like to have this opportunity to research it. That's something that you can do. And in addition to this, it's a hands-on institution. That's what really STEM focuses on. Our goal for students is really to be able to take the knowledge and then apply it after they graduate, even during they graduate. So we do have opportunities within the curriculum, that you can actually flex your muscles to show what you actually have learned from that textbook, and then really expand it outside of the classroom. So I think that's something for you kind of to know a little bit about. Now, I think a lot of students have asked me, have asked my team members, and even other universities, how will I know if a program is STEM designated? This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions. And part of the reason why they ask that is because I'm going to jump down to that second bullet point there, which is, why does STEM designation matter? And it matters because if a student is an expert in, let's say, computer science or one of our engineering fields, you can remain on the F1 student visa for 12 months. And then you have the opportunity for an extension for up to 24 more months after that. So what we're trying to share here is that you can remain in the United States for up to 3 years on your F1 student visa to gain that knowledge, and then take that knowledge and then apply it, and then go back home and say, this is what I've learned, maybe working in a company here in the United States. And so, you know, I do have a current student right now. He's actually from Brazil, and maybe I'll share this a little bit later, but an opportunity for you to learn what he's currently doing. But he is one of our engineering students. And he said, luckily, I have the opportunity to stay here in the United States, to take my knowledge of what I've learned in the classroom and then now apply it to actually a real world setting. So I do have, you know, a QR code and a website here. This leads you to actually one of the government websites, which actually shares the full list of programs that are STEM designated. You'll see things like animal science. And I think this is just really kind of gives you enlightenment as to, is this something that would work for you? Now, one of the things I do recommend is, how can students prepare for a STEM degree? I think many of you are maybe on the right track. If you are an undergraduate student, and I'm happy to chat if you're a graduate student after, the grades really do matter. And the grades matter because we really look at courses specific to math and science. If you're looking at the science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, that's just natural, right? We wouldn't have a student say fail out of algebra and then expect them to do well in, like, let's say calculus 1 at the university. So that's really important. We do really want to see that our students have that knowledge in that foundation so then they can do better later on. In addition to that, if you are an undergraduate student, we know that the ACT and SAT are optional for at least Illinois Tech. You might want to check in with other universities that you might be applying for. In addition to that, we are looking at an English proficiency like a TOEFL or IELTS. More recently, we have actually just added the Duolingo English test. So if you are familiar with that, the benefit of the Duolingo is you can actually take it from the comfort of your home. You don't have to leave. You can actually, you know, schedule it, let's say next week, and you don't necessarily have to go to a testing site. So there are some benefits specifically for why students really appreciate doing an assessment in their home. So again, the Duolingo English test is something that you can do. Letters of recommendation are also very important. We want your teachers, your counselors, maybe even an EducationUSA advisor saying, I know this student and they would excel at your university. They get to know you personally, and what that letter of recommendation does is it provides kind of like a new narrative to what I call the hard numbers, your grades, your GPA, if you do take the SAT, and the English proficiency. So what that does for you as a student is it allows you a greater narrative, and someone is really cheering you on, saying, I recommend this student for your university. Now, the personal statement, this is something that you can definitely control. And what I mean by that is you really want to share why you're looking at this particular program. Why are you looking at Illinois Institute of Technology or a university that has that STEM designated program? It's really important that you take the time to reflect on what your career goals are, what your academic goals are, and how that specific university can help you. Now, again, we're a tech school, we're a STEM designated institution. So when I see a student really showcasing why they're interested in engineering and they're really writing a narrative. Or maybe a student like yourself, you're thinking, well, I'm actually looking for an architecture program at a STEM university. You're able to paint that picture for the counselor, the person reviewing your application. So why is it beneficial to be at a STEM university with maybe, as I said, an architecture major or a business major? Everything and anything you will do will always integrate to STEM. And so when it comes to your personal statement specifically, I'm definitely going to highlight and to encourage you all to really do your research on each of the universities that you're applying for. In addition to that, there's an application fee and an asterisk there, just because I know that you might not only be applying to Illinois Tech, you might be applying to other universities. With that being said, the application fee for our university, if you are an undergraduate student, is automatically waived. We don't have an application fee. Other universities might have an application fee, so you want to check in with what are the requirements of those universities. So, just to break down what I've just said, we're looking at your grades, we're looking at how well you've done in those courses specific to the university. We're, again, optional for the SAT or ACT. We're going to look at an English proficiency examination. And in addition to that, we do require letters of recommendation, at least one, and then a personal statement. Sounds good? Now, this is a question of why does location matter? Location matters for so many various reasons. Part of it is if you are looking for a STEM designated program and, as I said, animal science, for example, and you're like, well, I really want to improve agriculture programs and I really want to work with farm animals, it won't be in an urban setting. So I share the photos to my right because these are actually our current students as well as where our campus is located. You really won't find cows in the middle of the city of Chicago. If you've actually learned about the history of Chicago, I'm only joking about this, but I'm sharing this story so you know a little bit about the Great Chicago Fire. Supposedly, back in the 1800s, there was a very large fire and it was caused by a cow who kicked over a lamb, right? And I just joke, but maybe that's why we don't have cows in urban areas, because they can cause fires. I'm just joking, but I do think that that is something you really want to think about, that if you are looking at an agriculture program, you won't find it in a big city. In addition to that, if you're looking at programs like marine biology, you might not find those like in the middle of the United States. You're going to find those on what we call the coast. So like Hawaii has a great marine biology program. Florida will have marine biology, again, because they have that access to water. In addition, you kind of want to think about why location matters for me as a current student. That curriculum practical training, or CPT, might be available during your studies if you're based in a big city. So what does that mean? I talked a little bit about that OPT, the optional practical training, after you graduate, but CPT is an internship, or at least a work opportunity while you're a current student. So because of that, while you're, let's say, in classes, you can also do an internship, and location matters in that way. The last thing I definitely always highlight are cities have companies and consulates. What does that mean? If in fact you're looking for an internship, if you're looking for networking abilities, companies tend to be in maybe larger metropolitan cities or even in the suburbs of that larger city. You also have a Brazilian consulate in larger cities. So let's say you want to meet and engage with maybe more Brazilians, they would definitely have that access to you. So I always like that wherever you go, you are looking for maybe a large city. Again, it's personality though. You really want to figure out why location matters for you and what you're looking for with that STEM designated program. So this is also a very big a factor here. Weather makes a huge difference. I don't know about you, but I have learned to embrace the cold weather. I've had to do that because I'm originally from the suburbs of Chicago. I'm in the city now, And I know that Chicago has all 4 seasons, right? So I laugh when I see this because right now it's not happening. But when this hits, I'm going to say, oh, I just can't wait for it to be, you know, a warmer climate. And so I share that because if you've never seen snow before, it can definitely impact your mood. And what I mean by that is there are days where sometimes you don't see the sun, and you might want to ask these universities and their STEM programs, how often do you see the sun? Like, tell me the truth. Do you see the sun today? And to be honest, when I woke up, it was raining this morning, and I'm looking outside right now. The sun is actually out and it's shining. And so that impacts your mood. It impacts where you study. And so because of that, I just want you to maybe ask those questions to other university representatives. Do you have all 4 seasons? Do you have 2 seasons? And how do people get around? And so, yes, in Chicago, we have all 4 seasons. Currently, it is our fall, and our fall means that the leaves are coming off the trees. It's a little cooler, I would say. And then winter is going to happen in probably around more closer to November, December, January, and February. So I know I have a colleague who is currently in Minnesota, for example, and the snow fell just like that bottom picture that you see. So every location will matter. In addition to that, I do like to share the neighborhood scenarios, right? Some students are looking for a rural campus. What that means is it might be a college town. And so there isn't really a lot going on there. And if that's you, that's okay. You just want to understand, is this in a rural area where maybe there's not as much going on? Again, most like college towns and college campuses will be in those types of locations. Is it in an urban setting, like the city, like Illinois Institute of Technology? We're right in the like in the city central area. And so because of that, are you looking for that, you know, I think about like noise level, it might be a little louder. There might be things always to do. These are the types of things that maybe would impact why a student would go to an urban environment. And then suburban areas. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. What that means is you'll find universities maybe outside of that larger metropolitan area, just a little bit outside of the city. So you would still have access to a larger city, but you're in a different environment. I think of suburbs here in the city of Chicago and like other suburbs where it's like more kind of family friendlier. And it's not to say it's not family friendlier here in the city, but I would say that that's usually where I have seen like families growing up, right, raising their children. And that could be an environment if maybe you are looking for, if you're bringing your kids over to the United States. In addition to that, getting around by public transportation will change, by car, by bike. You can have all of these things or you can have none of these things depending on where you are. And so public transportation you're going to find in the larger metropolitan areas. Sometimes it emerges into the suburbs, but it all varies depending on the city that you're in. In addition, the cost of living varies. We know that, but at the same time, I think that it is best for you all to maybe connect with a current student and maybe ask, yeah, what was your experience like at the university? And I know many universities are very interested in making sure you engage with their current students as well. In addition to that, access to comfort foods. I know when I went to Brazil for the first time, I tried guarana, and I thought that was like the most magical thing ever. And I tried to put some in my luggage, and by the time I had finished my tour in Brazil, I had finished it. And so that was something that I was looking for when I got back to the United States, and I was able to find it because there was a restaurant not too far from me that served it. But those are the types of things as to why location matters when you are looking at a STEM university. So I'm gonna kind of like reel it in a little bit closer to Illinois Tech and why our STEM university might be a good fit for you overall. So there's a QR code that you can scan, you can be put on our inquiry list, but I know behind that, you can actually see the photo of Chicago. So over here, right in this photo, you actually see where our campus is. And I know that it's kind of difficult to see this perception. This right here behind that QR code is actually our subway or our train line. It stands for, we call it the L, which stands for the elevated track because it is above ground. It's also below ground. but it connects you actually from our campus here all the way to the city, and it takes about 10 minutes. So it's not too difficult to get around. We also have buses. Our closest landmarks are what I like to call where Barack Obama's team plays baseball. So it's the Chicago White Sox, the former president. He actually has, basically, he's from the south side of Chicago, and he has the White Sox as his team. And so they're actually located just right over the highway around this red building. The university is definitely known for architecture, for engineering, for business, computer science. And that's really what I want to drive home, because I think every STEM university will always have those initial thoughts. But at the end of the day, our institution really focuses on discovering, creating, and solving. Our goal for our students by the time they graduate is to be able to solve those types of things. So why are we Chicago's tech university? And there's a few things that I really want to drive home. First of all, we're a private university located on the south side of Chicago. We are a smaller campus. We have about 6,000 to maybe 7,000 students, but we're in a larger city, so you have access to all things around you, like the Loop, which is where we saw most of those tall buildings. We are a residential campus. Our students live within our housing, and we're in a historic neighborhood of Bronzeville and Bridgeport. These are the types of things that if you are looking for a university, this might be why it's a good fit for you. And, you know, we drilled it down a little bit. So we asked our students, can you describe yourself in a few words? And a lot of the students kind of came out and said, we're innovative, we're involved, we're passionate, we're entrepreneurial, we're creative and diverse and geeky. If any of these words resonate with you, this might be a good university for you. I think that that is probably one of the things you will find at a STEM university, the fact that our students love math and science. If you do not love math and science, I'm going to be honest, maybe STEM programs aren't maybe the best place for you to be, but let's make sure that we can find you the best fit, because really what this STEM program is about is making sure that you find the right fit for yourself. And, you know, with that being said, I want to kind of break down what our university classroom is really like. And so I did share that we have about 6,500 students. We have about 3,000 undergrad and 3,500 graduate and law students. Our student faculty ratio is 12:1, and we have all 50 states, and 17% of our students come from international locations around the world. And what we really like to highlight is our retention rate, which is 88% from the first year to the second year. What that means is our students like being there, they are successful, and they definitely have been doing really, really good things as well. Now I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to ask you all questions, because I think it's been me talking for a little bit of time. Feel free to put in the chat, what are you thinking of studying? And while I kind of share this slide with you, these are our undergraduate colleges that we can allow undergrad students to come into. If you are considering a design program, we also have that as well. But one of the things I really would love to see is, what are you thinking of studying? So we have an Armour College of Engineering, a College of Architecture, a College of Computing, a College of Science and Letters, which is more of our humanities, and our Stewart School of Business. So we have over 40 undergraduate majors. And in addition to that, we have a number of minors that you can also pursue. I'm going to break it down here in this list, and I know it kind of got cut off, so I apologize for that. But applied analytics, applied mathematics, business and architecture, engineering management, all of these courses are all found at a STEM designated university. So you'll see things like global studies or psychological sciences, right? Everything that we do at the university will always be integrated to STEM. You know, one of my examples that I like to share with students is that our business program has students taking at least one computer science class, and people are like, really? Why is that? And honestly, if you don't have that background or at least a computer science knowledge behind you in a business setting, it can offset you, right? And so we definitely integrate that. We are very interdisciplinary. So I'm going to ask you all, I don't know if I can ask that question here. Can you guys see this? I'm going to start a new question and I'm going to ask you. Questions appear here. Oh no, it's not working, but here. What major do you want to study? And I'm going to submit that. And it's saying either the thumbs up or thumbs down. Can you see that? Let me know.
Yes, we can see that page.
Is it popping up on your screen?
It's just on like a presentation mode. But the students, yeah, they can chat. They can send their answers in their chat.
Yeah, let me know.
At Zoom.
Yeah, let me know. I want to hear from you guys. What are you thinking of studying?
Se vocês se sentirem mais confortáveis em escrever em português, também podem ficar à vontade.
Astrophysics, that's amazing. Okay, chemistry. Excellent. Sorry, I'll go back to my list. So you can see it. And if you're undecided, you can be undecided engineering too. Undecided, let's say, computing. So if you're thinking of artificial intelligence, astrophysics, amazing. And if you're undecided, again, that's okay as well. But I would definitely recommend and highlight to all of you guys, know that this university has so many options that you will definitely find your program. So I'm really feeling, and I love the fact that there are a few astrophysicists in the room as well as chemists. One of my students actually has a dress. She actually just graduated and it had chemical formulas on there. So when we talk about our students being geeky and nerdy, that's the type of students that we have, students who will wear dresses with chemical equations on them. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Now, this is where we really drill it down and drive it home as to why Illinois Tech is different and why you should be looking for STEM universities that have these types of opportunities. So the first semester, when you start at the university, we have something called ITP, or Introduction to the Profession. What I mean by this introduction to the profession is that our students really jump in and they get to learn everything about that specific program. So we bring in researchers, we bring in what your career path would be should you go into, let's say, astrophysics or chemistry at the university. We want you to have this knowledge before you graduate from the institution and even before you go on to your second semester. So if you're undecided and you're unsure of what you want to study, know that you do have that option at the university. In addition to that, we have something called iPro. One of the things that you will find at STEM designated universities is our goal is to solve problems and actually apply that textbook knowledge to the real world. And so when I talk about this and when I share this slide, it's because our goal for our students is to showcase that they have been a leader, they've been creative, they've worked in a team, that they have design thinking, and they have project management. So this iPro program is really for undergraduate students. It's usually in the 3rd and 4th year, usually over 2 semesters. And what this allows our students to do is it's like a built-in internship. And we do highlight the interdisciplinary courses at the university. So what the professors will actually do at the university is ask a question. They'll say, how can we solve COVID and what can we do differently? And those are the types of questions that you're posed with, and your goal is to solve it. I have seen iPros apply to our neighborhoods, but also globally. And so because of that, I definitely highlight why this is very important and why you can definitely step ahead being in the STEM university. One of the things that I love about our campus is access to different facilities. And so we have a place called the Idea Shop. And the Idea Shop is, a facility where you can actually prototype items. You can go into a laboratory and you can basically design things. What I love about this though is, and this example at the top is one of our former, I guess you could say, alumnus. He graduated. So one of our students, he graduated in 2015. He just thought the Rubik's Cube was too easy to solve. So he created something called the X Cube. So it's like a 52 moving parts like game that you can play with, and it was sold in stores. What was great about this was he actually designed it in our Idea Shop because he's like, hey, I just think that this is too easy to solve and I want a challenge. And so because of that, that's the type of access you have at a STEM university and at Illinois Tech specifically. Robotics is huge, right? If you're thinking about artificial intelligence, if you're looking at human-centered like computing, these are the types of things that you will find at our university. One of the things that I really love is actually being able to see and take that knowledge and apply it, right? So Sydney Kaplan is one of our students. She's a fourth-year mechanical and aerospace engineering student. And her quote here says, "My research has challenged me to learn beyond my mechanical engineering degree. As much of it involved computer programming. Learning to code was daunting at first, but I jumped in and learned that any problem can be solved with perseverance." So why is robotics something that we add? Why is it that we add, all these opportunities and programming, even if you're in business and taking a computer science class? It's because it's how the world is evolving. And so we have to be able to evolve with the world, and we want to be ahead and have our researchers, at the forefront, as opposed to being the laggard saying like, oh yeah, we could have thought about that. We want our students to really be able to solve these complex problems through the courses and through the university. Part of that is we actually see the STEM designated programs being able to be applied to the real world setting. Again, eating away a plastic disaster. So engineers working to engineer algae to degrade ocean plastics. Like these are things that our students are doing on our campus. There are third and fourth year students. So for those of you here who are in undergrad or in high school still, imagine 3 years from now, you're actually creating prototypes and things to modify algae to reduce the amount of plastic in our oceans. So when you talk about STEM designated programs and you talk about these degrees, again, our goal is to actually solve problems in the world and to have our students say, I actually have done something like this and I have taken my knowledge and I have been able to apply it. And so let's drive it back from academic now to the campus life, because we have about 150 organizations where we have 17 NCAA Division III sports teams, and we have over 600 events on our campus. I'm just going to say you're never bored being at the university. As I've said, the organizations, we actually have fraternities and sororities. We have intramurals and fitness classes. We have esports. So if you're a big gamer, let me know, because we have that. We have opportunities for our students to be part of our teams on our campus. In addition to that, you technically never have to leave the campus, but I get it. Sometimes you just want to explore a great city like Chicago. Really what it comes down to is the Bog. The Bog is the hangout place where a lot of our students actually, just get together. They have, basically food, they have drinks, they have a great hangout area for students. They have a bowling alley. So again, you're never bored being on our campus. For those of you who are athletes in the room, we do have men's and female sports, again, 17 sports, and you can always visit our IllinoisTechAthletics.com. I know that soccer or football is very big. We do have that for men's and women's. And should you be interested in sports, let us know. We want you to be in touch with the coaches. I think one of the things that's great about the Illinois Tech community, though, is that since we are a Division III university, what that means is it allows our students to be able to really balance out being an athlete being a student and being even like a student worker, because we have those students who work in our office. And so this is where I'm going to talk a little bit more about admission and financial aid, because I think this is always the #1 question that students always ask us. Well, first and foremost, we'll go through the admission process. So we are again on that common application. So apply.iit.edu, you'll actually see all of our information. For those of you who are here in the room and you're looking at if you're thinking about applying to the university, you can apply, and we do recommend students apply sooner rather than later. And if you are graduating in 2021, know that we do recommend that students do apply sooner rather than later for the university. And there's a few things as to why. Again, your last day to apply is May 15th. However, we encourage students to apply for other things. And here's really why I should say apply early. So we're gonna need, again, SAT or ACT is optional, so we won't need that, but we will need your transcripts. And that's gonna take some time for you to get that from your counselors and maybe an advisor or a teacher. We also are going to look for your grades. As we've mentioned before, you can see the recommended coursework with English, mathematics, engineering or science, as well as social sciences. We are looking for your English proficiency, like a TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo, and the scores are there. And I have had students ask me, if I don't have a 90 on the TOEFL, does that mean I'm not admissible? Not necessarily. If let's say you have an 80 and you're thinking, I still want to come to Illinois Tech, what can happen is we can actually do an in-house like English assessment for you to see where you might maybe need maybe a writing course or a reading course in English. Again, our goal for you is to be successful at the university, so we want to make sure that you have that basis of English knowledge to be successful. And if anyone here is an aspiring architect, the portfolio is optional. Now, again, I shared it earlier, but our application to the university, it is free to apply, so you do not need to pay for anything. It's just a matter of your time and applying to the university that we're all asking of you. Now, this is where we really want to be mindful and we really want to be transparent with you as a student. Every university will have different prices in terms of how much they cost. When it comes to Illinois Institute of Technology, that number that you see all the way here on the right-hand side of $67,505 is if a student did not receive scholarships. I would say 99% of our students are receiving some type of financial assistance, whether that's through academic merit. So, you know, we're looking at your grades, we're looking at how you've done in school. In addition to that, there are opportunities for like a full scholarship that we have through a Leadership Academy. And then if you are part of like the robotics competitions, like World Robotics Olympiad or VEX or FIRST, which are all like competitions and extracurriculars, let us know because we can automatically guarantee you a $25,000 scholarship. Now I know in Brazil, you do things by the numbers, and I wanted to actually show you. So if you took the 67,505 and let's say you got that $25,000 scholarship, it's $42,000. Now I also know that you think in terms of months, and so you might be looking at about $4,000, let's say $5,000 a month for 9 months. I share that because I want you to know what it would be like should you start at the university and then what that looks like for you after. So you saw me do that quick math. I just want to be transparent with you now. Again, it's free to apply and you're automatically considered for a minimum of $25,000 scholarship if you apply by November 15th. And so that's why it really does matter in terms of when you do apply to university. It is not binding, so it's not early decision, it's just early action, and we provide you a decision sooner. And so I know that you're thinking, okay, do I have the funds to be successful? do my parents have the funds to, afford the $5,000 per month? I really do want to share this statistic with you, because one of the things that you will see at STEM universities, specifically at Illinois Tech, is that our students are very successful in basically finding employment after graduation. I think one of the things that really I like to drive home is that your average starting salary, depending on what your background is, it's about $65,000 per year in US dollars. These were some of the companies that hired our students right after graduation. And if you're interested in seeing that's more like on that interactive map, which is very similar to what you'll see here on the right-hand side, click on that QR code, link to it, and then, or you can look at the careeroutcomes.iit.edu. And with that being said, I'm kind of wrapping up and closing. I want you to know who we are. So I'm Samantha DeLeon. There's my colleague Claire and Tyler. All three of us serve as counselors at Illinois Institute of Technology, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have regarding admissions or a STEM university. I'm going to leave this here, and then I'm going to actually open it up for questions that you guys might have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. That was a great presentation. If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box, either in Portuguese or English, if you, whichever language you feel more comfortable with. And if it's Portuguese, I will translate.
Thank you.
Só para lembrar, o EducationUSA é a sua fonte oficial de informação sobre estudos nos Estados Unidos. A gente organiza diversos eventos com várias universidades americanas para contar um pouquinho sobre o processo de admissão, o processo de candidatura para as universidades americanas. A gente tem também os plantões do EducationUSA, que são horários diários em que orientadores ficam à disposição para tirar suas dúvidas sobre o processo de candidatura para as universidades americanas. Então, aproveitem os eventos, participem e confiram a nossa agenda completa no site educationusa.org.br/agenda. E se tiverem dúvidas, podem enviar aqui pelo chat, que a gente vai perguntar para a Samantha agora. Sam, I would like to ask you a bit about the STEM programs as the students are looking into it. You mentioned that they are able to change, if they're undecided, they can change their minds, but would it be better if they knew already in which school they want to study, or it doesn't really matter?
That's a great question. I want to pull up, and because I think it's a smaller, presentation, I think that we can definitely be a little bit more intimate in helping you kind of see the university. What I'm pulling up right now before I share my screen is I saw that there were two astrophysicists in the room, and they're really interested in what does that look like. And so let me just make sure that I can have this tab shared with you. Can you guys see this? It says Bachelor of Science in Astrophysics here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So what I am going to do here is kind of share with you what this looks like if a student were to pursue the astrophysics background here. And so really what it is, you'll have Physics 100, and you can always click on this. And I'm sorry, I should actually share this in the chat with you all so you can see it. And you can, where did my chat box go? Okay, oh, here it is. It's hiding behind one of my screens. But this bulletin actually really showcases Physics 100, Physics 123, Calculus, 1, as well as like chemistry, right? And like most universities, or some universities in the nation, they're like, oh, in the first 2 years you take just the gen eds. You don't really take that at a STEM university. And then by the second semester, you're jumping into general physics. And by the third year, like, it's not to say it's a sink or swim, but we really want to know that a student has really looked at the curriculum very seriously. And we say that because this is just a sample. So this is not exactly what you would take at the university, but you can expect to take it at a STEM university. So you're taking Physics 100, then you're jumping into 200 level classes by your second semester and even into your second year. So what this means for you as a student is you really want to show that you are very serious about and passionate about this program. And in addition to that, one of the things that we do highlight at the university is the opportunity for a bachelor and master's in our accelerated master's programs. So what that means is you can actually graduate with a master's degree within 5 years. And so why that's important for you now is because typically it takes you 6 years to earn a master's. At the university, we can do it in 5 years, but that's only because we know that our students are very serious about the STEM program. So physics, let's say, again, look, you have almost 4 physics classes stacked on top of each other right there in the 3rd year, and 4 again in your 4th year. So I always say we don't play around and we don't mess around when it comes to STEM programs. So we want to make sure that you are gearing yourself up for success. So I would say, yes, know the type of program that you're looking for, know the strengths of the university, and then also understand what happens after you have that degree.
That's great. Something that is always important to highlight also is that most universities have either like an opportunity center or a job center that can help them find maybe internships. Would that be available at Illinois Tech?
Absolutely. That's a really good question. Absolutely. So here's where I like to kind of showcase a little bit more about the university, even at the graduate level. So overall, the university has about 40% international students. Why is that important, and why does that matter to you as a prospective student coming to Illinois Tech? Well, what it showcases and it tells you is that the university is well equipped to helping students find employment opportunities after they graduate. We've seen students successfully moving on into different careers after graduation. And we say that now because that's really what you should be asking. You should be asking the questions of how easy is it for me to get a job, right? How does the university help me? And I just actually had a presentation with one of our associate directors in our career services, and he said, yeah, you know, one of the things that we do is we actually comb through your resume and we help highlight the differences between, you know, like what your resume should look like in the United States versus maybe what you would have submitted in, like, let's say Brazil or a different country. So we really tailor that to what maybe like that American company might be looking for. But at the same time too, we do want you to be successful in your graduation. And because of that, let me actually pull up one more thing. And I don't know if you see this current screen, but one of our current students, and I'm actually running this panel, and this is on November 7th, Paulo Codaira, he is actually from Brazil, and he's actually going to be talking about what he's done as a current student at the university. You know, he himself said, I found this university by accident and I don't regret having been here. And so he actually started off as an undergrad student. So he finished his bachelor's, but then because of that co-terminal program, he finished his degree in 5 years. If you do have time, I know it's a Saturday night. I do recommend that you guys join us, but this is actually the Global Alumni Gathering. It's a virtual event that we're having on November 7th, and you can actually speak to Paulo and say like, hey, I'm interested in learning. In addition to this, because we're very tech driven, you're gonna hear about the entrepreneurship. There's a breakout session. So they're kind of having like multiple things going on at the same time. But our goal for you as prospective students is to know what happens after you graduate. And this is specifically the international hangout for basically people around the world. So we are very excited that this is happening. I'm happy that I have a Brazilian student who's raising his hand saying, I want more Brazilians on our campus. So we really do hope you consider the university. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if the students have any other questions, but I think those topics are very important to tackle, especially this type of opportunity that the students have to ask questions directly to the people that are involved also in the decision-making of who gets in and who doesn't. Is also very important that they realize that it's a great opportunity to get real insight on the universities that they will apply to. Yeah. So I don't know if they have any questions.
Yeah, and again, if you're like, oh, I don't know of anything right now, I'm going to go ahead and type my email in, and you should feel comfortable emailing me. If you are maybe a graduate student, I also work with that population as well. So I could do grad or undergrad, should you have any questions. But I definitely think for you, the astrophysicist in the room and our chemistry student, and if you're undecided, STEM is definitely a really good place for you to be, just because we know that really what you're trying to do in these programs, it's not easy, right? But you're game changers being in the fields of STEM. So I really do appreciate this. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Sam, once again for this very good presentation. We'll make it available on YouTube for students to check it out later. And it's great that you shared your contact information. The students can also reach out to us if they have any questions about studying in the US. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Education USA.
Okay, bye, everyone.